Hello, and welcome to Folklore and Flourish, the Legends Reborn folklore podcast brought to you by Blue Box 29. This podcast is at the very heart of who we are and what we create, the myths, the lessons, and the forgotten wisdom that breathe life into the Legends Reborn chronicles. Every story we write, every world we build, and every character we reimagine is rooted in the ancient tales that shaped humanity. This show is my way of honoring those roots, sharing their magic, and inviting you into the stories that inspire our books and our souls. I'll see you in there. Before we begin, I want to take a moment to honor the cultures behind the stories we are about to explore. The tales shared here come from many peoples, lands, and traditions. I do not change these stories to fit modern expectations or to align with today's social standards. Instead, I present them as they were told, sometimes beautiful, sometimes harsh, sometimes challenging. We are not here to judge the past, but to understand it, to listen, to learn, and to honor the ancestors who carried these stories forward. We also share stories from various religious traditions. These are presented in their historical and spiritual context, with respect for their beliefs that they represent. Every culture deserves respect, context, and acknowledgement, and this space is dedicated to doing exactly that. Hello, welcome into Folklore and Flourish. I'm Jane.
And I'm Mark.
And today is our very first day of the podcast, so we're in January 1st. So we are in the middle of winter, second month of winter to start off the year. That's all about the soul myths, the inward shadows, and the archetypes that come with that. And so for January, it's all about crossing the veil. So the month between worlds. So we kind of know winter as that. It's kind of that cusp of like the veil is already kind of lifting. I know autumn is usually seen as that, but winter kind of carries it because it is so quiet and still. So we're in week 1, which is the awakening. So someone awakening into the fact that they're crossing into something. Thresholds are being changed. You're kind of at this cusp of who you were and who you can be, who you could become and who you want to become. So that's kind of the archetype of where we're at. So since it is January 1st, our theme today is the whisper. Excited? That's our overall theme, okay? So it's just that spirits call from unseen places. Whether you believe in spirits in any which way or format, that is our theme today. So the themes are created as a lens of how we want to receive the stories today. So rather than just looking at the huge story, we're just going to focus on that. The voices coming from unseen places. So this just helps us get a deeper meaning, the guidance, and the universal threads woven through cultures around the world. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So our 4 stories today, we're going to do 4 a day. You might see some stories more than once, but it'll be a whole different aspect of the origin itself or the myth itself. So today's 4 stories come from Celtic, Norse, Zulu, and Japanese stories. Are you ready?
I'm excited.
All right, let's go ahead and hear them.
Story 1. The She Call Those Who Hear. In Ireland, there are places where the land does not forget itself. Hills rise in gentle curves, as though the earth were breathing. Hawthorn trees stand alone in fields where no farmer will cut them down. Paths bend slightly where there is no reason for them to bend. In such places, people lower their voices without knowing why. The old ones said these were the places where the worlds lay close together. They spoke of the she, the people of the mounds, not spirits of the dead, not gods as humans understand gods, but beings who belonged to the land before the land was measured, fenced, or named. They lived beside the human world, not beneath it or above it, close enough to hear footsteps, close enough to hear names spoken aloud, and sometimes to speak them back. The she were known first by their voices. A traveler walking at dusk might hear a whisper rise from the grass at their feet. A woman carrying water at twilight might hear her name carried on the wind. spoken in a voice that sounded like memory. A child standing too long near a fairy mound might feel a sudden stillness fall over the air, as if the world itself were listening. The voice was never loud. That was how people knew it was not meant for everyone. The she did not call crowds. They called individuals, those who were already listening, even if they did not yet know it. The old stories say the call often came at the edges of things, at dawn or dusk, at the turning of the year, at moments of grief, longing, or quiet unrest. The voice might sound like a loved one long dead, or like no one the listener could name. What mattered was not recognition, but resonance. The voice spoke to something already awake inside the hearer. Many felt the call more than once. A person might ignore it the first time, shaking their head and blaming the wind. They might ignore it again years later, when it returned in a dream or in a song with no clear source. The she were patient. Time did not trouble them as it troubled humans. Yet the stories warn how one answered mattered more than whether one answered at all. There were those who followed the voice without thought or offering, stepping into the hollow hills or crossing into places they did not understand. Some returned unchanged in body but emptied of joy. Some returned old when they had entered young. Some never returned at all, their names spoken afterward only in half-finished sentences. The elder said the she did not steal people. They invited them. An invitation always carries a choice. But there were other stories too, quieter ones, told less often and only to those who listened well. Stories of people who learned how to hear without crossing. They acknowledged the presence without surrendering their place among the living. They left milk or bread at the threshold. They greeted the unseen aloud and continued on their way. These people were said to walk with steadier steps afterward, to dream more clearly, to age less bitterly. They did not belong to the she, but neither were they alone. To the old Irish, the she represented the truth that the land was alive and aware, that the world was not empty beyond what the eye could see. The stories were not meant to frighten children, but to teach restraint, humility, and reverence. Listening, they said, was a skill. Crossing was a risk, and knowing the difference was wisdom. Even now, some say the she still call, though fewer can hear them. Roads have been straightened, trees cut down, silence filled with noise. But in the places where the land has been left to remember itself, the whisper has not stopped. It waits. Story 2. Hugin and Munin, who whisper to the All-Father. In the Norse world, wisdom did not arrive suddenly. It traveled. Each morning, before the sun had fully climbed the sky and before the frost released its grip on the earth, Odin, the All-Father, stood at the threshold of the hall. Upon his shoulders perched two ravens, dark as night and sharp-eyed as thought itself. Their names were Hugin and Munin. Hugin was thought. Munin was memory. At dawn, Odin sent them forth. They did not fly only across Midgard, the world of humans, but across all 9 worlds, over mountains and seas, through forests and battlefields, across halls where oaths were sworn and broken. They watched everything that stirred, everything that hid, everything that believed itself unseen. The ravens did not interfere. They observed. By nightfall, they'd return. The Skalls said that when Hugin and Munin came back, they settled once more upon Odin's shoulders and whispered what they had seen. Not as commands, not as judgments, but as truth, delivered quietly, close to the ear. The kind of truth that cannot be unheard once spoken. Odin listened to them more closely than he listened to any other voice. Yet for all his power, the All-Father carried a fear, not of losing Hugin, for thought is restless and always seeking new ground, but of losing Moonin. For memory fades, memory wanders, memory forgets itself. The old poems say Odin worried that one day Moonin might not return. This fear mattered, because in the Norse world, to forget was more dangerous than to not know. A person without memory could not keep oaths. A people without memory could not survive the turning of an age. It was said that sometimes, when the ravens passed low over the human world, people felt them without seeing them, a sudden chill along the spine, the sense of being watched, a memory rising unbidden, long buried but suddenly sharp, a thought arriving without explanation. These moments were not blessings. They were reminders. A warrior might suddenly recall a promise made years earlier. A woman might remember a truth she had tried to bury beneath daily life. A ruler might feel doubt settle heavily where certainty once lived. This was Moonin passing near, stirring what had been set aside. Hugin, meanwhile, brought restlessness, new ideas, unease, the sense that the world was larger than one had believed the day before. The Norse did not see these whispers as comfort. Knowledge was not gentle. Wisdom carried weight, and to hear the ravens was to accept responsibility. Once thought and memory had touched you, you could not claim ignorance. This is why Odin wandered the worlds himself, disguised as a one-eyed old man, always seeking more knowledge. Even the god who knew the most understood that wisdom was never complete. To the Norse, Hugin and Moonin represent the truth that nothing truly vanished. Deeds were seen, words were remembered, thoughts traveled farther than bodies. And sometimes, when the wind rattled the roof beams of a longhouse, or a traveler felt suddenly less alone on a dark road, it was said the ravens were near. Not speaking, just watching. Story 3. The Ancestors Who Speak in the Wind. Among the Zulu people, it is said that the living are never alone. Even when a person walks far from the village, even when the land opens wide and empty around them, they are accompanied. The ancestors walk nearby, unseen but present, listening as much as they are listened for. They are called the Amadlozi. The Amadlozi are not ghosts. They are not distant spirits cut off from daily life. They are the dead who remain bound to the living through blood, memory, and obligation. They do not depart fully, because life does not end cleanly. It folds back on itself. The elders taught that the Anadlozi speak in many ways, but most often they speak through the wind. The wind belongs to no one. It touches everything. It crosses boundaries without permission. That is why it carries voices. A sudden gust through tall grass might sound like a name. A low moaning through trees might carry the rhythm of speech. A change in the air might arrive just as a difficult thought forms in the mind. These were not accidents. The wind was a mouth. Children were taught from a young age not to ignore these moments. When the wind changed suddenly, one stopped walking. One listened. One spoke aloud even if no one else was there. "I hear you," they would say. The Amadlozi did not always bring comfort. Sometimes they warned. Sometimes they reminded. Sometimes they corrected. Their concern was not happiness, but balance. When the ancestors were ignored for too long, imbalance followed. Crops failed. Illness came without clear cause. Arguments flared where peace had once lived. The elders did not say the Amadlozi punished the living. They said the living had drifted too far to hear. Listening restored harmony. A person who felt restless without knowing why might be experiencing the Amadlozi calling them back to obligation. A dream repeated too often might be an ancestor asking to be acknowledged. A sudden illness might be the body's way of forcing stillness so the message could finally be heard. To listen did not mean surrendering one's life to the past. It meant remembering one's place within a larger story. The Amadlozi spoke often, to those at thresholds, the young who stood on the edge of adulthood, the grieving, who had not yet finished listening to the dead, the elders preparing to pass knowledge onward. These were people whose lives were already changing, whose attention was loosened from routine. Silence, the Zulu thought, is never empty. It is full of footsteps. And the wind, when it speaks, is asking a simple question. Do you remember who walks with you? Story 4. Amaterasu and the Cave of Heavenly Rock. In the beginning ages, when the world was still young and the borders between realms were thin, the sun did not merely shine upon the earth. It watched it. The sun was Amaterasu, the great shining deity, from whom the emperors of Japan would later claim descent. Her light was not only warmth, but order. Under her gaze, crops grew in their seasons, spirits remained in their proper place, and the rhythm of the world held steady. But even the sun could be wounded. Amaterasu's brother, Susanoo, was wild and destructive, a god of storms whose grief and rage knew no bounds. Though he had sworn to change his ways, he broke his oath. He rampaged through Amaterasu's sacred spaces, destroying rice fields, defiling halls, and committing acts so violent that the balance of the heavens trembled. When Amaterasu saw what he had done, she did not rage. She withdrew. She turned from the world and entered the cave known as Ama Iwatu, the heavenly rock cave. There, she sealed herself inside, hiding her light from gods and humans alike. And the world went dark. Without the sun, crops failed, cold spread. Spirits that had once stayed hidden began to wander freely. The boundary between worlds weakened, and fear took root where harmony had once lived. The gods gathered in alarm outside the cave. They shouted, they pleaded, they threatened, but the stone did not move. Force could not bring the sun back. At last, the gods chose another way. They began to make sound. They lit fires, they laughed, they sang, and then the goddess, Ame no Uzome, stepped forward. She overturned a tub and began to dance upon it, wild and unrestrained, stamping her feet, barring herself, laughing so fiercely that the assembled gods roared with astonishment. The noise echoed against the cave walls, and from inside the darkness, Amaterasu heard it. Not a demand, not an order, but life continuing. Curiosity stirred within her. Slowly, she pushed the stone aside just enough to peer out. And there, the gods held up a mirror, polished bright. For the first time since withdrawing, Amaterasu saw her own light reflected back at her. She remembered who she was. She stepped out of the cave, and the world breathed again. Light returned. Order was restored. The spirits retreated. But the gods did not forget what had happened. They remembered that even the sun must be invited back gently. And so the story was told, not as warning against darkness, but as a teaching. When the sacred withdraws, it is not always anger that brings it home, but invitation.
Okay, so for these 4 stories, so the whisper, January 1st, the whisper, the day's thread is, across every culture today, the beginning arrives quietly. A voice in the land, a thought on the wind, a memory that will not rest, a light that withdraws until it is noticed. The whisper does not demand, it repeats. What is meant for you does not shout, it waits for listening. All right. So the lessons of those 4 stories were that you were never truly alone. So there could have been a lot of things you could have taken from that, knowing that spirits call from unseen places. But the overall lesson was that you never truly are alone. So before I ask you a few questions and we jump into our application and stuff, we're going to go through a few of the origins and important notes for each of these stories. So the origin of the Sidhe, the Celtic Sidhe, that's from pre-Christian Ireland. So it's about 500 BCE to 500 CE. Somewhere within that 1,000-year range
Okay.
is where that origin started. Obviously, we don't know perfectly because most of these were oral tellings for a long time. And especially with this one, it's important to note that it was much older texts that recorded them. Like after they went through the Christianization of Ireland, that's actually who wrote it down, was that Christian scribes preserved that memory. So
it was there, not written down, and then
the Christians wrote it
scribes were
down.
like, oh, we should.
But they did not invent it. They wrote it down, that oral tradition. So that's something too important to note with the Celtic Irish Sidhe, originally from pre-Christian Ireland, though. So.
Right.
Okay, the Norse ravens. Love the ravens, right? So that's from the Germanic Iron Age. Kind of knew a little bit more about that. And the idea of thought and memory being traveling entities likely predates Odin's literary form. So there are a lot of poems and a lot of written stuff about Odin itself, but the idea that thought and memory are traveling deities it goes so far back that we don't know the origin, really.
Right.
So that one is just it could have very well started with Odin, though.
Right.
We have no idea, but important note. All right, the Zulu one. Okay, so the ancestors in South America. I don't know if you knew that's where Zulu was or not. I didn't, but
no.
That's cool. So it's from early Bantu speaking society. So this is about 500 BCE to 1500 CE.
Oh, wow.
So it's not that. I mean, they again don't know when that one started. And I don't know, going back to the Norse, the Germanic Iron Age is from 200 BCE to 800 CE. I don't know if I mentioned that or not.
Okay.
But that was that for the Norse one.
Okay.
Anyways,
no, you didn't.
No. Yeah. Anyways, the Zulu 500 BCE to about 1500. Okay. And it's important to note that this tale in particular, when I looked into it, it was very specific in the fact that it didn't originate anywhere. It's constantly ongoing. So that was a really important part of this, was that there wasn't any, oh, this is where it started. No, it's always been there. So there is no origin. It's always been.
As long as we remember, or as far back as people can remember.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that was pretty cool, though, that it was so specific that it was like, yeah, no, it's always been. Okay, the Japanese one that one was so hard for me to read. There were a lot of words that were...
It was impressive.
Yeah, thank you.
The way you did those, honestly, yeah.
It was pretty difficult, and that was from the Yayoi and Kofun periods. So that's from about 300 BCE to 600 CE. And it's important to note that for this one in particular, it being the sun, it likely originated through the agricultural cycles in the imperial Japan. So that was a pretty huge push. And of course, the sacred withdrawing. I mean, I think that's part of the reason they said it was part of imperial Japan, because of the sacred withdrawing fully and the importance of having the sacred there, So those were our first 4 stories for day 1.
It's awesome.
Okay, so I have a comment before I ask you any other questions, okay? So what did you think about this part? Because when we were re-listening to it, it was something that I liked when I read it, but when we re-listened, it just kind of gave me a little bit of goosebumps. But the fact that it says life does not end cleanly, it folds back on itself.
Yeah, that was interesting.
What were your thoughts on that?
I mean, so obviously I was kind of doing a couple different things at the same time. That caught my attention and brought me back. I was gone. I was doing whatever Mark things I do. And then I heard that and I was like, what? Wait, what? That sounded awesome. So from your perspective, where did you take that? Like when you put it in and you bringing that up, I'm glad you did. What about that?
It just made me solidify the fact that like listening does restore harmony. Like that's kind of the point of today, was that it's always there, and it's not like you're awakening, you're getting invited to this big adventure, and so you take the action to step into it. It's like, no, your awakening is when you hear it, when you acknowledge it. It has nothing to do with your actions. It is simply being still. And so I really liked that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like in today's day and age, we don't. I mean, like, how many times do I multitask with 18 different things? And then when there is that one thing you do register, you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, oh, now I need to go back and think about what happened before.
Right. I find myself doing that quite often.
Yeah, and that's why I was really excited that this was day one. That it was like, no, listen.
Yeah.
Like, because it's just this huge idea of who is walking with us.
Hmm.
Do you remember? Like, because it's not just your bloodline who walks with you.
Right.
There are so many people that could be walking with you, things that could be walking with you.
Like I've said before, and I don't know how many people listening understand, but our eyes can only see 30% of what's around us. There's 70% that we have no clue what's around us. That's the part that's exciting for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I love that none of these stories were about ghosts. Like you might think that the unseen, oh, of course, like it's spirity, whatever. But it's not. Like
I like that one where it was like, it's not a ghost, but it was like, it's the wind.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, like that part, I was really into that story when I was sitting there listening to it, and it was like, no, the wind. Yeah, no.
And I'm always a big person on that. You can have pretty words, but your actions really show who you are. But looking back at the Norse one and realizing that words travel farther than bodies do. Yeah. And they do, 100%. Especially in today's day and age. Like this is from hundreds to thousands of years ago, and it's still true to this day.
Yeah.
Your words will travel farther than your body ever will.
Oh, 100%.
And so it's kind of a whole new perspective of some people may not hear what you're saying, but someone is.
Yes.
Someone will hear what you say. Yeah. So I just thought that was cool. So moving forward, we're going to kind of do our daily reflection, and then I'm going to give us our task that we're going to do later today, which is going to be cute. And then just a little application at the end. So like, how can you apply this moving forward? Not how can I apply it tomorrow? How can I apply it in an hour? You're just going to get the application and just take it and then be like, oh, I'm doing it now, kind of thing.
Okay.
So the reflection for this one was, what has tried to reach you for years? So what is something that has been trying to reach you for years? So obviously we're talking about spirits calling from unseen places. You're never truly alone. This is like that calling. I mean, yeah. Holy smokes, like you should have a huge story on this, right?
Right.
A huge shift in life. So what is the thing that's been trying to reach you for years that you're finally awakening to, in the sense of you heard it and you're going, yeah, we hear you. I hear you. What is that?
Honestly, that's cool that you asked that. And it would have made sense if you would have asked me that prior to recording, because then I would have had a better answer, or I would have had the same exact answer. I think that's what we're doing right now. Like this podcast right now, just so you guys know, this is us moving forward, and this is what we want to do. Yes, this is her baby right here, and I'm loving sitting here and doing everything I got to do. But my thing is what we're doing as a team together is what everything has been telling me to do for years by myself, and I was just like, So then when you meet that right person, that right wind that comes into you, it catches your sails, and who knows where we'll end up.
Yeah, and it's kind of like there was just so many things that I heard that I was like, ooh. And one thing that I've really, really tried to do, and this past several years too, is not just the things we do, but what our body asks for. Like how I told you, I truly believe that when you're sick, it's not necessarily a sickness. It's your body saying, pay attention to me.
Right.
Listen to me. So now it's kind of that thing of, what is that calling? Do we get sick because we know we're not following the people that walk with us? Or do we get sick because people that walk with us are trying to hey,
stop, come back.
They're like, come on. So I just love it. And yeah, this podcast, I mean, it is my baby, but I mean, I never would have been here without you. So it's like a lot of people were whispering, I guess. The wind just blew us. Okay, so was there anything else you wanted to add about the stories? Are you ready to kind of hear what your task is today?
Let's jump into the task thing. I think we're gonna dive more into these stories later.
Yeah.
Once people start really communicating back with us, where we see what they want to hear too.
Or even if it's like, if you guys see this and you're like, ooh, I want to go back to that whole listening restores harmony, right? Because maybe you disagree.
Yeah.
And you could. That might be a story we talk about again then.
Right.
Or if I'm sitting here thinking I pronounced everything right and one of the words is like dramatically wrong, that's okay. I apologize. I will fix it.
Let us know in the comments.
Yes. All right. But today's task is pretty easy to do. So today you're going to go out into the world. So it does require you to be outside at some point.
Okay.
Okay. Preferably you're outside for the entirety of the daily task. You're going to go outside and wait for when the world gets quiet. So if you're living somewhere next to a road, or if you're living in a big city, or just a big bustly area, you're going to have to find somewhere that the world gets quiet. So maybe that is you walk outside and come back in. Does that make sense? Because not everyone has the luxury of walking outside and having
quiet,
like that talk with the world, that discussion, you know? So anyways, you're going to wait till the world goes quiet, and then you're going to find something made of wood. I recommend that you just go straight for a tree.
Right.
A tree would be beautiful. And I'm not talking about you're going for the greenery or anything. Like, you're going for the trunk if you can. Okay. So you're going to go up to whatever the piece of wood is and just whisper to it, I am listening. Okay. So that's your first part.
I get your joke now.
Stupid. Okay, so you're going to walk up to a piece of wood or something made of wood and just whisper, I am listening. And then as you do it, you're going to notice what thoughts, memories, or sensations come without effort. If there's absolutely nothing, beautiful. That's great. Don't force it. So you're going to walk up, I am listening, and just allow your body to accept whatever is given to you. Because that's ultimately what it is what's given back to you.
Yeah, because if you're listening, you should be.
Yeah, and that's definitely something I want to see people comment about.
Right.
What did you feel? What did you experience? Was there a sensation? I mean, there are some of these challenges as we get through like the course of stuff that it's going to be really painful. Like, there are going to be some that you may not know. It might be, oh, go hug a tree, and then you go hug a tree, and then you're bawling for an hour. Right.
You're
might
just letting that energy
acknowledge
go.
Something. Yeah. So there are going to be times, and I mean, it's day 1 of a 9-year cycle.
Yeah.
So it's 1, 1, 1 for a whole circular. So we have a lot of power coming out. So this is the best opportunity for something to speak back.
Yeah.
And so, like, I want to see if anything speaks back to you, if it's inside yourself or outside. I would love it, right? We'd love to see it. Okay.
Yes.
So you got that? Okay. Okay, so your application then today is that listening does not require answers. It doesn't all the time. It requires presence. Okay, so listening does not require answers. It requires presence. Awakening begins not with action, but with attention. So again, just shifting your attention is you stepping into yourself. So that's it for that one. Okay, so you can comment down below, or you can get a journal. This is what I'm going to do. Anything. I didn't write questions or anything in there. It's super cute, right? My niece and nephew got it for me. Solid Christmas gift. I'm just going to leave it open. So anything that I'm feeling, or maybe I draw a picture because that's how I felt that day. Maybe I was just seeing signs or something in my head, so I wanted to write down my thoughts. Some days maybe half a page, some days maybe a full page. Heck, I might even write, I just was still today. It was a quiet day. That's all. So you have a lot of options. Yeah, I would say just have fun with it, because that's what we're going to do, yeah?
Yeah, 100%. I'm here to have a ton of fun. And if you guys have any questions, please reach out. The biggest thing behind what we're doing is we want people to be able to utilize this as a healing mechanism. Use this to your advantage. Use it for fun. It can be whatever you want it to be. But the biggest thing is we want people to get healing from this, right? So do whatever you need to do. And if you got questions.
Healing is not pretty.
No.
It's not. Trying new things. I mean, we're going to be doing this. First time ever doing a podcast. We're doing it every day. It's going to be like, I mean, new for our relationship. It's going to try a lot of individual things and it's going to try a lot of relationship things. But I mean, healing isn't pretty. That's what makes it so beautiful, I think, is that you're just a cocoon, a full mess of something until you finally acknowledge and listen. And then it's like a whole brand new slate. Like the possibilities are really endless.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So, like we've said before, like, comment, share, subscribe, do all the weird stuff. Check out our other social medias.
Do that daily task.
Do the daily task, for sure. Go hug a tree or do something with some wood.
Pencil or something.
Just wood. Doesn't matter. I'm sure you
real wood, too.
Real,
Doesn't matter
not
what
the
kind
fake.
of wood. Just real wood.
Real.
Real.
From the ground up.
Real wood.
All right. Well, on that note, have a blessed day. Thank you.
That part's getting cut out.
No.
Yeah, it is.